okay to not be perfect. It's okay to make mistakes. People are so much more forgiving than you realize. Something happened to me this weekend at my shows, my gigs. I was on stage and I got the lyrics wrong. I started singing a song in the wrong place. And you know what I did? I just stopped. I stopped right in the middle of the performance. I spoke into the mic and I went, oh my God, I can't believe I just made that mistake. Can I start again? And the crowd was so forgiving. They laughed, they smiled. I got my band and we started the song all over again. To be vulnerable is to be human. To be open-hearted is to be real. And more people than you realize are open to seeing the true, fearless authenticity that lives within you, to show up exactly as you are.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Malur from Hearts&Minds Development Center. Thank you for joining us in Being Whole, Being Me Series 83 and the last one for the year. I don't know how you're feeling, but you can see I'm feeling really grateful, really joyful, and at a peak as a Malaysian because we've got a prime minister and I love him. So yes, I love him. I love so many things about our 10th prime minister, and Malaysia is hope. Malaysia is about being vulnerable. Malaysia is now about putting the past pains to rest. There's so much that I would say my prime minister represents today to the things that's close to my heart. And just as I say that, I have someone else who's going to join us. You know who's the guest, Melissa. Of course, Melissa Indot. Now, I met Melissa, I would say, not by choice, but by accident in Clubhouse, right? So during the pandemic, Clubhouse was really big for me because it kept me company. It helped me to figure out new skills, find my way. And, I get into these spaces and I meet this amazing woman, Melissa Indot. Now, she is scary because every time I heard her speak, and she spoke about topics that was close to my heart, and every time she spoke, first she'll break me. Now, what do I mean by break me? I'll be like, what is she trying to say? And then it's like putting a mirror up to me, my blind spot mirror, and helping me to see where I have not got it right. But what is also amazing about Melissa, as she calls out, not to a person, but in the session, she is as compassionate because as she calls out, she gave me the assurance, you know what, whatever happens, I'm here with a lot of love and compassion, and I will not judge you. And I saw her building that life. So it is with great pleasure, great gratitude, I'd love to invite Melissa Indot to the stage.
Hi, Mala. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling really emotional actually. Ooh, that intro that you created for this, and then this introduction that you've given me, is such a beautiful celebration of the why I do this. So I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm very grateful to hear those kind, generous words that you have for me. And I'm excited. So much is happening, right? Not just the little chat that we had before we got here, but being here live now. And of course, for Malaysians, and gotta remember to breathe. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. It's such great pleasure. Like what I said, this is our last episode, and you know how we've been trying to get a date with you, and I kept missing it. And so, I think this session was meant for you. Like what I said to my audience last week, it's just amazing. The slot was available, and I thought I'll use the slot, to chat with my friends, right? And then you said yes, and I said, okay, this is what it was meant to be. So, Melissa, thank you very much for saying yes and just being you, right? And I'm going to say you have all your fans following here. Hi, Sandeep all the way from India. Sandeep, I'm going to warn you that you're going to have one more extra show to invest your time in every week. That will be Melissa, because Today is an amazing day because Melissa has just launched her podcast.
Woo! Oh my gosh.
So
Thank you,
we're very
Mala.
lucky that we get to say that first. So if there is one other podcast that you're looking at, this is definitely, I can tell you, this is definitely a podcast I'm going to follow every week. Besides, I was just telling Melissa, besides the other two that I follow, which is Being Well and Brene Brown, right? So follow Melissa. Don't tell me I didn't tell you, because if you don't follow her, you're going to regret it. Having said that, hi Siobhan, hi Desiree, hi Elizabeth. Thank you for joining us, and all the other nameless people who are joining us quietly. So let's get on, because I can tell you 1 hour is not going to be enough, but this 1 hour should be enough to tell you to subscribe to Melissa's podcast. So here we have, right? So when I was looking through Melissa has always been like this. I'd be confused, what do you do, right? Because on one hand, I knew you were an entertainer. But when I went to your website and I looked at your story, oh my goodness, what a beautiful story of love, of healing, of being whole, right? So I think I read your, as I was reading to prepare, I messaged you. I became very emotional because your story is the kind of story that we need to hear. So, Melissa, tell us a little bit about you. I know you're an entertainer, okay, a singer and entertainer and a big star. Uh, and where I met you is I didn't know your life as an entertainer. I just saw you as a healer. So, tell us a little bit about how you became who you are today.
Well, that's a huge question. But first of all, I am a goofball. That is the most important point I wanted you to leave with today, is that I'm a big goofball. I'm all about being curious and being playful. And I want to give a shout out to Desiree and Siobhan. I mean, I see you, Sandeep and Elizabeth. But Desiree and Siobhan, I specifically want to give a shout out to, because where we met, where Mala and I met on Clubhouse, Siobhan and Desiree were like my biggest support there on that platform. And they were really important facilitators, co-facilitators with me in my club, which was called Being Curious and Fearless. We've now evolved. The whole thing, the whole topic has evolved now. And that's what's brought me here to be in this session with you, Mala. So, right. So where did my story begin? I'm Malaysian, proud Malaysian. And let's see, my first love definitely has to be music. My parents met when they were teenagers. I've got music running through my veins well before I was a spark in either of their eyes. They sang in competitions against each other when they were young children. Well, when they were young teens, I would say. And the rest is history. So I stepped into music at quite a very early age. My mom nurtured that passion and love in me. And she was also a very good disciplinarian. She made me do, study piano, study singing. I loved it anyway, and it was all great. And I was very fortunate that I followed a career in music from as early as 19. So I actually dropped out of school, out of university, to work. And that wasn't really such a pleasant experience, probably for my parents. I didn't really fit into that mold, that predetermined mold that many of us, and I feel more so as well as Asians. And if anybody thinks that I'm sort of pigeonholing us right now in this conversation, I am, and I'm very happy to own that, because as a general rule of tradition, that is the path that the majority of Asian parents carve out for their children, because in their belief and in their mind, having a very firm education in the traditional sense of education is what sets your child up for future success. Well, that wasn't for me, and I dropped out. I went straight to work, actually. That's what I wanted to do. But on the side, I pursued music, and I actually went to build a very small music career in the United Kingdom, which is where I was living. I think the UK and probably the Western world were not ready to see Asian face. And even then, if you look at Korean music, K-pop, even that's only just breaking now in terms of sort of the global market. And so we didn't see much success there, although we made some waves in the industry. I came home after living many years in the UK. I'd already retired from the music business. And through a couple of sort of having fun at some open mic sessions, I won an open mic competition. And next thing I know, I'm recording my first solo album in Malaysia. I released it, full support of my wonderful family, my sister who managed me. And you know what? We won an industry award. In Malaysia, we have the AIM, which is an industry award for the music in the music industry. And I won Best English Album, which was mind-boggling because all I was doing was following my passion and turning my dream into a reality. And to have that happen at such an early stage of my career here was incredible. And so I spent the rest of the next following years performing live, doing a lot of corporate shows and just bringing my music out there in Malaysia specifically. Those days, music on the internet wasn't that big yet. Anyway, I'll fast forward because many things happen in between. I shall pause there, Malo, because I think you may have some questions for me, or maybe if there's questions in the chat, because I'd love for you to direct me a little bit, because I can talk the back legs off a donkey. Just, set me straight.
Yeah. I think more than setting you straight, we need to probably do podcasts after this. But let's get to what we want to know about Melissa, right? I mean, just hearing you speak about your love for music and how you have always been true to yourself. I mean, that's clear. You've always been true to yourself, always being authentic, always fearless. That's the Melissa I'm seeing from the story, right? Now, and then you said you came back from UK, and then now you are not pursuing, but success is pursuing you, right? And from what the story that you're telling me with all the corporate work that you were doing with your entertainment. So at which point, because I know you as a healer, at which point did you get attracted to the transformational work that you're doing? Oh my goodness, Melissa is frozen, and we're going to get her back, I'm sure. Between that, while waiting for Melissa to come on, again, we didn't expect this because the test went really well. We're going to try and see whether she comes in. Kirtana is at the background. Kirtana, maybe you want to get out so that you can get in because she's still frozen. Yeah, so while waiting for Melissa to come, we're just getting to the juicy piece. Let me say hello to Luis. Luis Moraes is here. I don't know whether he's here or in India. Luis, congratulations on your business starting in India in your favorite part of the world. Yay, we got Melissa back. So Melissa, tell us, at which point did you say, okay, you are really already very successful in the music industry? At which point you decided that you need to give your time away to transformational work?
That's a great question. So my career took many turns, and what I ended up doing was doing a lot of small, intimate shows, and I storytell with music. So I think at least the feedback I was getting from a lot of people was that I wasn't your usual singer and entertainer on stage who went up and sang songs beautifully, but I crafted storytelling in a way that got people thinking, that got people into their bodies feeling. So I would tap into the storytelling of other artists and carve a whole story. So I would name my show, for example, Life is a Roller Coaster, right? Which is actually a name of a song by Ronan Keating. But I would call my show that. And then I would take the listeners through an emotional journey of that roller coaster through different songs. So it would create an experience where there was anger, frustration, heartbreak, grief, joy, celebration, whatever it was. I would take them on that journey. So without being aware of it, I was supporting the emotional healing journey of people already, because most of the time, well, first of all, I don't think any of us have an education on emotions, right? We go to school to learn how to read, to learn how to write, to learn how to count, to learn where the countries are in the world, and to learn our history and so on. But nobody teaches us what emotions are, what we call them, how do they feel in our bodies, and they feel differently for each of us, why we have emotions, and most importantly, What do we do with it? Nobody teaches us that. So emotions can become experiences that are extremely overwhelming that we don't know what to do with, and we often shut ourselves down. So some of us, and I think it's quite common as Asians per se, I'm pigeonholing again, but it's all based on my own experience. We don't show anger. We don't show defiance. We're very obedient. We're very compliant. And what happens is when we don't allow ourselves to feel our emotions, to connect with our emotions in a healthy way, then we suppress them. Now, many of you may have heard this before. Emotions, energy in motion, because you and I both know, right, Mala, when you feel anger, that is visceral, right? You feel that. Some of us break out in a sweat. You can even see some of us get red in the face because you can feel that anger in your body. Imagine if you don't do anything with that energy, how powerful it is. It stays stuck in you, right? And so it needs to go somewhere. And if it can't come out, if you can't express it outwardly in a healthy way, then it's going to express itself inwardly. And that's where we start to see disease in our system, in our bodily system. Sickness, illness, disease, literally. So back to my shows, I was taking people on this emotional healing journey where basically music became the space holder for their emotions, where it was safe for them to feel everything. Because it was like music, it is that music became the vehicle for them to ride their emotions, ride through their emotions until they got through it. And in actual fact, this whole sort of system, this whole technique, big celebration actually, Mala. This week, I just got the official registration of my modality or methodology called intuitive music programming. And I've just described to you what it is. It's like intentionally selecting songs in a playlist that soundtracks an emotional healing journey. So I take people through this in a gig. So people come, oh, I'll get a ticket. I'm coming to be entertained. But little did they realize that through being entertained intentionally, they were also riding an emotional journey. So any anger, any sadness, any frustration that they had not expressed during their day, during their week, they were able to release by simply sitting and being part of my shows. So I was doing this as an artist. Now, life threw me a couple of really big life lessons, big experiences. And I'll just kind of summarize them because otherwise I could go on and on about it. But they're big. And this is a trigger warning. This is an activation warning for anybody, especially if you've lost somebody. So my big life experiences that turned my life around, changed the trajectory of my life from pure musician and artist, is when I lost my father in 2014. He had cancer, but he deteriorated very quickly because of his treatment. And I was his primary caregiver in our family. And I had the gift of being able to be that for him and to witness his preparation for his transition. And 2 years later, I actually got to walk a very similar journey again with Samantha Schubert, the late Samantha Schubert, who I call my soulmate. I met her, I knew her only for 1 year or just over a year. But in that year, she was diagnosed with terminal stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And I had the opportunity to be her primary caregiver. It was a very complicated and difficult time, but it was a beautiful gift for me. And as difficult as it was then, and I still have memories that are quite traumatic for me that I'm still processing. But those two experiences, and they happened 2 years apart from each other. My father passed in 2014. I met Samantha Schubert doing a stage production of Vagina Monologues in Malaysia. And 1 year after I met her and we had an amazing friendship, she passed away. At that point, it felt like somebody had pulled the rug from under my feet. I was broken. I was confused. I was lost. I was furious. I felt abandoned and confused. And I thought, you know what? I asked the proverbial question. What is the effing point of this life? Why are we here? If at the end of the day we die, And for many people, we die with so much pain. So what are we here for? So I literally put a pause in my life. And like so many we hear of on their heroes or heroines' journey, I went traveling and I took a deep dive into self-discovery. I consumed many, many, many books. And I took a lot of time to be on my own, to ask questions and just to be in silence. And that took me on another amazing journey. And it led me to doing what I do now intentionally, which is in a way what I did as a musician. But instead of doing it on a stage all the time, I became a certified life coach. And now I help people, I coach people, I guide people on their emotional journey as a life coach to navigate and learn how to regulate their emotions in order to harvest the wisdom behind their emotions so that they can turn up, show up in life and live their life with fearless authenticity, meaning you show up just as you, not the person you think you should, not the person society expects, your parents expect, your friends expect, that even you expect of yourself, but you live in flow with life and show up the way you need to in that moment, one moment after another. I'll pause right there.
Thank you. I think, yeah. So I'm glad you gave the warning of activation. So I can't imagine the feeling of going through the grief that, well, I don't know what I can say in the past, but what these losses would have meant in your life, right? That you took some time out. Before I get into that space, I think you said something really. So I almost don't listen to any other music except Tamil music. So a lot of things that you mentioned, I need to go and listen to it again. So my mom listens to English music. So all the English songs that I listen to is because my mom listens to it, right? So I love Tamil lyrics, and I understand when you say how music takes you to the spaces that you need to go. And for me, I would say sometimes heal, right? So I use Tamil music for me to activate any feelings that I want to revisit because I've lost it along the way, right? So and for you to design that, I think that's so amazing because a lot of times the people, we meet, they are hurting, but I think we've been sold on to the idea of being strong for so many years that even when we are hurting, we don't give ourselves permission to feel our hurts, right?
Yes.
And I want to thank you for that, that beautiful experience that you shared, because so many people would have just gone through their hurts, let it pass through them, and give it the passage that it needs to heal, right? So thanks for that, right? So for those who are listening, that's something you may want to explore, because I do know that specifically for women, right? Nowadays women, we take so much of pride in showing up strong, and showing up strong, a lot of us have taken it to suppress, not to feel what we really feel. So Melissa, thank you for that voice. Now, you told us about that story of your great loss. And then you tell me that you went on a journey to find meaning, right? Now, when I was looking through your website, I also saw that in exploring, you said you tried everything. And of course, I was very caught on with, when I read the part on, you've tried alcohol, you've tried drugs. I would love to visit that space if you give me permission.
Of course, yes, please go ahead.
At which point did you explore this? Was it a practice for you did you try it because you wanted to explore? Or did you get to try these things to try and overcome your pain? I wasn't sure where that story was sitting in.
Yeah, that's a great question, Mala. Actually, I'm quite passionate also about this topic. I'm passionate about so many things, but basically, alcohol and drugs is something that I've dabbled in for most of my adult life in a way that's been very normalized by society, by modern society. People turn 18 or 21, and what do? We have a party, we celebrate the sort of coming of age, adulthood, and we often celebrate that with alcohol. It's something that is in many cultures encouraged almost. Oh, now you can have your first drink. And in terms of modern society, sort of taking drugs on a social level is also very acceptable. Now, I don't condone it. I don't encourage it. Neither do I criticize it. It's simply what is in terms of modern culture, and it's there. So I've always dabbled in it at some level. When I went on my sort of spiritual journey, I'll call it that, my personal growth story, part of my deep studies was actually discovering that I had a habit, that I was an alcoholic. And I'm going to use these two words that they, until today, still feel uncomfortable to say, but I was a drug addict. Now, I say it's a difficult two words to say because in my mind, and media has got a big part to play in this, when I say drug addict, I imagine people who need to go into rehab. Again, trigger warning for anyone. I have this image of what I see in the movies. Okay, needles, hiding in dark alleys, the proverbial image of the most extreme and painful scenario of drug addiction. It's not something I would ever see, or two words I would ever imagine to use on myself. But really, what is addiction? Addiction is about a consistent habit and a dependency on a drug. So during my personal growth journey, I was able to look in the mirror and recognize in myself that I was drinking every single day from as early as 12 o'clock. Okay. And again, it's not necessarily about how much you're doing. It's the fact that you're doing it and you have to do it. And that when you do it, you become a different person. And also the question behind, why am I doing it? So when I discovered this, when I woke up to my own patterns, as I explored further that journey, I realized that I was doing it in order to not feel. It was to numb the pain. It was because my grief was so immense that I didn't really know how to deal with it. It was because the support that I needed, in a way, came too late. And that is on no one's account other than my own. I didn't know I was struggling. I didn't know I needed help. And when I did know I needed help, I didn't know how to ask for it. And I didn't have access to the resources. So we often look at privilege. I'm definitely a privileged woman. But even as a privileged woman, I didn't feel I had access to it. And so that's how I discovered. It's literally just from reading books about self-awareness, about spirituality. And I started to ask myself, what are you doing? And the veil that I was living under, the illusion I was living under, was slowly being lifted. And as it was lifted, I was able to look in the mirror and say to myself, you have got some major addictions. And a friend challenged me. She said, hey, listen, why don't you just give up for 1 month? And interestingly enough, giving up for 1 month was very easy for me because some of you may find this familiar. We have a thing called dry January, which is coming up, folks, because festive season is coming. A lot of people drink and celebrate and indulge over the festive season. Typically December, many people celebrate Christmas, and of course we've got New Year. And then dry January comes where people basically detox. They cut all the alcohol, they watch their food, they clean, they detox their bodies. So my body had also been so programmed to be able to stop for a whole month without any difficulty, without any struggle. So when my friend invited me to do this, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do this. And I did it for 30 days. I had no problem, not drinking, not indulging in any drugs. And then she said to me, why don't you go on a little bit longer? I dare you. That's, by the way, if you want to know how to get around me, dare me to do something because I'll do it. I just gave away my biggest secret. So I was like, okay, fine, I'm going to do this. So I went on, Mother. I went 45 days, 60 days. And it was when I went further, 90 days, is when my awareness of my addictions actually started to show up. Before that, it was just like, that was my lifestyle. It was perfectly acceptable because the other side of the coin is that I was also addicted to working out. I was addicted to being fit and healthy. I ate very clean. I slept very early. I also woke up very early, and I was a meditator. In my mind, I had created a beautiful, balanced narrative of healthy living on one end of the spectrum and completely indulging on the other end of the spectrum. To me, it was, I have an accountancy background. My inputs were equal to my outputs. But in reality, what was happening was I was putting my adrenal system under major, major stress. So I'll pause there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that journey with us, right? Whoa, thank you for the permission. I'm trying to breathe in to see where I should focus the next half an hour.
Yep.
Now, I think you brought in a lot of things that a lot of us struggle with. You know, the idea of not knowing we are in pain and hiding sometimes behind habits that has become an addiction, right? Because
Yes.
addiction doesn't look like what we thought it is. But you've given us narratives and labels to help us, look at ourselves and see, is there something that I can't live without that's controlling me, right? I think that's fantastic. So I think those things were things that's really timely because December is kicking in soon, which means we'll go on a party mode, right? And I also love the fact that you even brought up, how some of our so-called healthy habits can be an addiction,
Totally.
right? Yeah, where we get totally engrossed by it. So I'm just very curious, right? So when you took on this journey, so you had a lifestyle, and then you looked at some of the habits that you had formed during your lifestyle as an addiction, right? Now you said only after 90 days it kicked in for you, right? So when you realized, so you were going on a go, because your wonderful friend had died. Thank her for us, and you took on because that's the way you respond to a challenge, right? So tell us very quickly, right, on the 90th day or whatever that day was, 90 days, when you realized it, how did you sustain your journey, and what was your greatest difficulty at that moment?
That's a great question. It was a devastating moment because it was very confronting. And that's where the fearless authenticity shows up. When you to be able to look in the mirror and see essentially a failure, that you failed in showing up in the way that you thought. I'm going to try and find a better way of expressing that. It's like I was living a lie. But I was living a lie to myself. I had created all these coping mechanisms, and I had built a belief system that was telling me that I was extremely healthy. And in the 90 days of cleansing, I was faced with a new truth, a real truth. And to be able to look at myself in the mirror and claim it authentically and in a way that was fearless and say, well, I still get to choose. And actually, what a beautiful moment this is to be able to wake up to myself and now explore with curiosity the why behind these actions. How were these habits created, and why they were created was because of a lot of expectations and labels I had created for myself. Now, we have labels and expectations because in a way they create some level of security for ourselves. We create an identity of who is Melissa based on what is expected of me, what I expect of myself, and how these labels that I resonate with identify me as. But without awareness and without curiosity is the ability to always ask why. It's the self-check-in, right? Without awareness, those labels become limits. And that's what had happened. I led a very limited lifestyle. It was very one-track mind, that this idea, this concept that I was living in extremities, but those extremities canceled each other out. That limited belief was actually leading me probably to my grave. My adrenals were in an awful state. So how did I then take the right steps or take the steps to sustain this journey of detoxing, not just detoxing my habits and therefore my physical body, but also my belief systems, so mindset. And of course, the emotions behind that too, because there was grief, there was deep-seated anger and resentment from as far back as growing up as a teenager. And how do I own all those discoveries, right? Not pointing the finger of blame to anybody, my teachers, my parents, my friends, my bullies, my colleagues at work, all the people who had treated me badly in my life, but actually being able to be accountable for the choices that I made in my life that attracted certain people, right? For the ways that I responded to different people that led me into more pain. Owning these experiences was made possible in my healing journey by surrounding myself with coaches, really great coaches, mentors, and rediscovering the things that bring me joy. So I listened to music every day. I moved my body every day, but in a way that was connected to nature. These are things that I love. I would spend a lot of time by the ocean. Journaling, big piece of that. And yeah, I'll pause there. Those are probably the main ones. Music was probably my biggest tool in my toolkit.
Nice. So it's a nice pause because I have a question for you.
Sandeep, please interrupt anytime, Mala,
No,
next time. If you need to interrupt, just go ahead.
I love what you're saying. In fact, this is the first time I'm struggling because I can't take notes because I want to pay attention to you for the keywords. Now, so you actually said something really interesting and difficult for, I think, for a lot of us to consume and navigate within, right? Because you said you woke up to the truth, right? And so, but before you woke up, you thought you were living in your truth as well.
Yes.
And I think that's a very important transition, because if you did not wake up to the truth that you were talking about, this would have been your truth, right? And that truth is what I suppose we need awareness for. Because without awareness, anyone can point at us and give us, whatever information, but it's not going to make sense for us because you are living your truth. And authenticity is about that. So if you can help us differentiate for those who think they are living their truth, may lack awareness, but they've been getting feedback, or the soul within is telling something is not at home. That's a feeling for me. Everything is working out well, but it's not home, right? How do we differentiate the truth that we are living, because we've been sold on to this truth maybe for far too long, become part of us, and to the truth? So is there a point where like, I know what I can be curious about, just in case I'm here, I can be curious enough to find my real truth? What would that be?
This is such an important question. And yes, ultimately, every way that every choice that we make in our lives, our mind is so powerful, right? It will tell us that this is my truth that I'm living right now. And that marker of that discrepancy between a mental truth, so what our beliefs are, and what it actually feels safe, what is actually aligned for our path in life, that discrepancy shows up in those moments, and they're very private moments that you just mentioned, Mala. Those moments when you're like, yeah, I'm going to do that. Yeah, I'm very happy what I'm doing, very happy in this job. And I'm going to say this, I'm very happy in this relationship. I'm very happy with these choices. And as you say it, you feel something in your body that goes, And for everyone, it's different. For some people, it's a slight heartache. For other people, it could be a feeling in the belly. Other people, it could be a feeling in the gut. But the truth is, it's always I wouldn't say it's always. It's more often than not a feeling in the body. For some people, it's a whisper that they hear. Like, no, it's not. And in a moment, and then you just move forward. You like ignore it. And the more that you ignore it, the more that it shows up. It can also come in the form of trusted people, like people you care for dearly, who say things that you feel, again, back to the feeling, you feel like yes, but somehow they trigger you. They irritate you. They make you angry. They cause a reaction in you, not a response, a reaction. These are things to be curious about. Even the self-doubt, be curious with it, but curious with it in a way that is like a child, without judgment, but with exploration. And that's that. More times than not, you will discover that discrepancy is what is leading you to the ultimate truth.
Nice, nice. I love it. I love it. I love what you said, because I think what we often refer to as our truth tend to be what I will say the world's way of looking at whatever truth that they've built for us, which is at a logical level, that we stop listening to all parts of us. So for me, it is very often, am I together as a person? The way I think, the way I feel in my body, we need to be home together, right?
Absolutely.
And that's really what I took back, and I really want to thank you for the word trigger, because that's my favorite word.
Right.
That's one of my favorite words, because very often when we're triggered, when someone, like say, when we have a reaction, especially a negative reaction towards a person, it tends to be, you made me angry, she annoys me, she irritates me, I didn't like. But I think to take that trigger and be curious about, hey, how did that, I would say, disintegrate me? For a while, I wasn't showing up as myself, right? Now, to bring myself back together, this is where I need to be curious and to explore. So you gave so much in that so little time that we gave you, right? So thank you very much. Now, before I dig in a little bit more, I want to be respectful of Sandeep, who has asked two questions. I think on a lighter note, Sandeep is asking, given a chance, would you like to go for a graduation side by side?
For a graduation, you mean like
Yeah.
a...
Now, I think what he's asking is that earlier you chose to pursue music and not, you said you were a school girl. Yeah, I think that's when the question.
I'm really not attached to that, because I am if there's one thing I'm actually proud of being addicted to, and I use that word with caution, I have a healthy addiction to, is learning. And I'm not attached to any graduation ceremony per se. So given a chance, would I go for a graduation side by side? If it was offered to me, I would accept it with gladly and with joy, but I don't need it. I hope that answers your question.
All right, and Sandeep has another question. Before without music as career, what would Melissa do to be recognized early in her career?
Oh my gosh, there was no other option. I have followed my heart and gut my whole life, and so one way or another, it would have been music.
So you've never been in a space to say, oh, well, I wish I had done something else, because you always did what your heart called you to do. Actually, you've been living this life all your life, except
I
that,
have.
yeah, you have been, just being true to yourself, and along the way, probably picked up habits like all of us do to survive, thrive, which became a habit which was unhealthy and blocked the true self that you were seeking anyway.
And the truth is, even those blocks that show up, I always say lies are secrets that we tell ourselves. Lies are secrets that you tell yourself. So I was living a lie. The lie wasn't, it's not about me living a lie to other people. I was living a lie to myself. I was telling myself I was healthy, when deep down inside, if I were to lock myself in my own room by myself, look in the mirror, I knew what I was doing was not healthy. We always know. We just choose to ignore it, right? So the lies was a secret I was telling myself that I actually knew the truth. And that lie was leading me back to my truth. It's like when people say to me, oh, I'm out of love, or I'm afraid, or I have hatred is such a strong word. But any experience that we have that is out of love, as in we've fallen out of love, is ultimately leading us back to love. So all of us here, all of you listening, watching, whatever, if at some point you're like, actually, yeah, I know that this part of me is a bit of a lie, what I say, you're fine, because your awareness of that is leading you back to living your truth.
Because without that awareness, you will continue to live your life, and that might become the truth that you believe until hopefully, if there's an opportunity to wake up to the truth.
Yeah. And if it doesn't happen in this lifetime, it will happen in another, but that's a whole other conversation, right?
Yes. That's brilliant. So, okay. Now you've given us so much. Thank you very much. I think tying it back to the topic today, right, about fearless authenticity. I think you've given us the definition of authenticity and how it's important for the emotional well-being, right? The two questions coming through for me in the next 10 minutes is this, right? Is there a difference between us feeling fearless? That means, yeah, I'm working with these two words, right? Because sometimes, and this is probably not the other people, but it's for me, right? Sometimes when I want to be true to myself, I need courage because it's scary to be myself. Not for me, but I'm so afraid of the reaction and the responses that I'll get, right? So for me, then I need to talk myself into, okay, it's really like going on a slide with my children. I need to talk myself into it. I know I'm not going to die, but I need to talk myself into it. But there are times you just do it because fear never really existed until probably you get into trouble, right? So when you talk about being, so is there a difference that we feel when we're seeking ourselves between not feeling any form of fear for being you and to needing to find courage to be you?
Great question. I'll respond based on the context that I use the word fearless. Okay.
Sure.
So courage, we hear that word courage, and courage, it comes from the word cur, heart. And it's really about, for me, what it means is like connecting to my heart space and moving with the courage of my heart, right? Leaning into what is possible, leaning to the resilience and the power that we have within us. The reason why I use the word fearless is because I want to bring light and attention to the word fear, because fear is a part of life. And we're wired to navigate fear. That's our survival. That's our survival mode. That's our primal instinct, the ability to tune in and sense what is safe and what is not. It's programmed into us. So by bringing attention to the word fear, my definition of fearless authenticity, fearless curiosity is about seeing the fear, befriending the fear, asking the fear, what do you need? What is the wisdom that you have for me?
Nice.
Making fear a friend so that it becomes fuel for forward momentum. We own the word fear rather than fear the word itself. That's why I claim that word fearless, both in fearlessly curious and fearless authenticity. So
Nice.
I'm not sure if I answered you the question based on a dictionary definition, but it's in the context of how I want to bring it forward to the people who are ready to be authentic, who are ready to be curious.
Nice. We need dictionary definition. If we needed that, we'll just go to the dictionary. We don't need Melissa. We want the way you think, and that's why we're grateful for you to be on the show. You brought in something really important. So I like the fact that when you use the word fearless, that you are already helping us acknowledge it is normal. However, these emotions, and in this case, particularly fear, is given to us as a gift for a reason. So let's explore the gift that comes out of the fear is what I'm hearing from what you said. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Now, the other thing that you said, which would probably be the last question. The whole group is very quietly, intensely listening to you. Sandeep, thank you for your question. I forgot to say hello to James all the way from Penang. Now, you see, I think there was one very important thing that you said when you looked at yourself, during your moments. You said, how you, from externally, you were living a healthy life from a perspective of you were sleeping well and you were exercising, eating right and stuff like that, right? But you said that lies are secrets, uh, yeah, that we keep to ourselves. Now, so when you look at healthy and you said you looked at yourself and you knew that you were not healthy, right? How can we also tap within ourselves to see which parts of us may be unhealthy? Because you've got to you used a lot of tools to get to that space, right? But we want to learn from you and take a shorter cut, right? Because there's a lot of external validation that might be overshadowing the lies or the secrets that we hold within, right? So there's that thin boundary. So how do we cross
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, you've hit such an important point, because even in the deepest parts of my addiction, I looked amazing. Right, my skin was glowing, and also there's this: how do we define looked amazing? I looked amazing according to what commercial, societal, media-friendly values were created. I was thin. I was thin. I was very muscular, but very lean, I would say the word is. And I was fresh-faced, right? Because I was eating healthy. But that was just external, right? As you say. So how do we, this is a difficult question to answer, because in a way I would go back to what you brought up earlier, which is that to start to just take notice when you make a choice about something, or when someone speaks to you in a certain way and you have literally a physical reaction to it in a way that causes discomfort. So it could be, how could you say that to me? A response, rather than even saying negative, but a response that literally feels uncomfortable. These are the signals within your own body that are telling you something is out of alignment. And that authenticity, that fearless authenticity, is realizing that it's not about criticizing yourself. It's about saving yourself, actually. These are markers that are leading you into a different way of living. We don't have to measure it as good or bad. We can be curious to explore another way. So when you're being reactionary, something within you, and if you have a faith, if you're very spiritual, you could say your angels, your guardians, right, is guiding you to explore a different way, to ask a question. Why am I reacting this way? What is it that's really bothering me? Because the truth is, what anybody's opinion is about you and the life that you lead, if you react to it, it's because they are mirroring, we started this whole conversation this way, right? They are mirroring something in you that you are not happy with. So if someone says to me, Mercer, you're a liar, today I would not respond, because I know who I am. I know I'm not a liar. But if it were to cause a reaction in me, I would ask myself, why am I reacting so much to this? Am I feeling guilt somewhere? Is there somewhere that I've told someone a lie that I haven't owned up to? I'm not going to get angry at that other person. I'm going to look at myself first, because obviously something in their words has resonated in me. And I'll pause there because I know we're running out of time. Thank you.
Thank you. So one of those things that, from what you're saying, that I have realized, don't know exactly where, and this was very difficult for me to manage in the beginning. That every rejection that I received from the external world was about a part that I rejected first.
Ooh.
And they came to remind me of the part of me that needs to be loved by me first. So now when I get triggers, and I was getting a lot of triggers during the pandemic, and it often points out too. So usually, a part of me that's rejected. It's just so amazing. So today, if I immediately have a thought or a feeling that comes across as rejection, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I now need to go and pay attention. The first question I ask is that, is this a part of me that I accept and love? Because when I get there, I don't feel rejected anymore.
It's beautiful. That
So,
is so beautiful.
thank you, Melissa. Major saying, wow, beautiful, inspiring message. Thank you very much, ladies. Major, if you were not here in the beginning, please subscribe to Melissa Indot. We have it in the comments. She's just launched her podcast while waiting for you to launch yours, Major. Yes, yeah, he's an amazing person, and we're waiting for him to launch his. So, yeah, catch up with Melissa's podcast, which we had spoken about earlier. So, Melissa, before we say goodbye, this is going to be our last Being Whole, Being Me series 83 for the year 2022. What is the one message you want to leave our audience with?
Kindness. Kindness begins with you. A massive congratulations, Mala, for the 83, number 83. Fantastic year. And I'm really looking forward to everything that you're continuing to bring forth through Hearts and Minds and all the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As we say goodbye, I wish you all the best. And remember, you need to bring your fan club to, your podcast is what I am wishing, not for you, for myself, because I think I've received so much in Clubhouse with you. Thank you for the space. Thank you for the relationship until we meet in person. So thank you very much. Wishing you all the best. As we say goodbye to Melissa. Yes, as we say goodbye to Melissa, thank you everybody for joining us. Special thanks to the people who keep joining us every week. And I have to mention Sandeep for showing up and supporting me, Louis, Gerald, who's not here today, Siobhan and Desiree. I haven't met you all, but, thank you for being who you are. And if not anybody, I need to, okay, and also James and Major, I know whenever you have the space and time, you join us. Thank you for encouraging us, because without your encouragement, I don't think on my own I would have told myself I can get to series 83. Oh, I forgot about my beautiful friend Elizabeth, who loves me for all that I am. So if you're still listening, thank you very much for always supporting us. We have got 17 more, which we will continue next year. As I say thank you to you for this year, stay safe. Well, I know we have a better Malaysia that's going to show up every day for us with our new Prime Minister. I'm excited. And with everybody, I hope you have a great year. So what am I going to do for the end of the year? I know people are ticking their boxes as to what are the goals that they have set. I am ticking my boxes I'm ticking my unfinished business. So the year for me would be spent ticking my unchecked box about the things that I haven't dealt with, so that I can enter the physical new year in 2023 with the least baggages. And the baggage that I'm going to take are the only ones that I choose, because I want to, because I need to grow a lot more to let go of that. With that, wish you all the best. Have a great great year end, and have a beautiful new beginning. With that, this is Malar signing off from Hearts and Minds Development Center. We want to thank Kirtana, who's at the background today. She is not well, but she's here, for showing up every other week to support, because I can say that there's no way I can do any of these things that I'm doing if it's not for her. So I want to thank God for her spirit, and the love that she has shown me for my passion, for my dreams. and all my dreams that has come through, it's really because I have her by my side. Take care. Bye. Till I meet you again. This is Malhar from Hearts and Minds Development Center. Bye.